So let's take a closer look at claims. In the rubric, I call them topic sentences, but they're really claims. They're interpretive claims that you're making. And the rubric tells us that we want to answer the guiding question, what does this passage tell us about the tension between blank and blank in early American culture? And we want to use a structure where we identify the specific passage, use an active verb, and place the tension on the spectrum. Keep that visual I just gave you in mind. So let's look at a couple samples. This is an example that is about the Bradstreet poem. And you'll notice that one of the things that I think makes it interesting is it argues for a mixed place on the spectrum. It's not totally about equality. It's not totally traditional female subordination. There's a really tricky move where kind of both are being touched on simultaneously. And that is Bradstreet's general move, I think, although in certain passages I think she's clearly all about equality. In other passages she seems clearly all about subordination. So in any given passage she might be taking an approach at one end of the spectrum or another, but I think overall she ends up in the middle. Now, I could just have easily said, in the prologue, Bradstreet argues for female equality over traditional female subordination. That's a totally legit view. That's me arguing I see it all the way at one end of the spectrum, the other rather than the other. So this is a claim that situates in the middle, but it's easy to imagine a version of this sentence that goes one way or the other. Let's look at the other end of the spectrum. In the prologue, Bradstreet argues for traditional female subordination over ideals of equality. Right? If you don't want to say argues for, you could say endorses, celebrates, what else could we say? Emphasizes, right? There's a lot of different verbs we could use there. Okay, so that's one good example of a claim. Let's take a look at another one. Now this one, since it's a larger work, you're going to notice it takes a little more detail. It takes a little more detail to show the reader exactly where you are in the text. So in the final pages of the Coquette. So there's this little sentence situating the reader in the text. The writer simultaneously. All right, so as soon as we get it simultaneously, we are not at either end of the spectrum. We're somewhere in between. And it might be more one end than the other, or it might be some balance in the middle. But again, this is another example of a sentence that sees two different things happening. But what's cool about this one is that it appears that it conforms, that the novel conforms, but then it's argued that it questions and critiques. So this is an interesting kind of verb set to think about, right? Is you can ask yourself, is a text asserting, endorsing an idea, or is it questioning, critiquing, or complicating an idea? Or, even more interestingly, is it doing both at the same time? So once again, this is another mixed or more complex claim. Doesn't have to be. This same sentence could have argued for one end of the spectrum over the other. But what's important to see here are these key pieces, because this is what I want you looking for in your own claims and in your classmates' claims. And this is what I want you helping each other to develop. Okay, I hope this quick little highlighting gave you some good ideas.